turn to my colleague, Senator Begich, Senator from Alaska.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I do have to leave at 11:30, so we're going to submit some questions in writing also. But if I can just follow up on the chair's request, I'm assuming that you prepared a document, and I don't know what the rules are here, but I'm new, so I get to have that rule that I don't know what the rules are, so I can say that. You probably had submitted a document to OMB of what you thought was necessary to fund at 100% or at the higher levels. Is that document available for us to see and get to the answer that the chairman has asked?
Senator, I apologize. I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay, well, put that, whoever behind you is writing that down, that's the question, because that, I think, answers the chairman. But let me ask you some, being parochial, some Alaskan issues, but also related to the West Coast. But I know one item, the Pacific Coast Salmon Recovery Fund, which I thank my colleagues from the western states that at one point it was zeroed out, then it was put back in about $50 million, which is still below its recent year allocations of $80 to $90 million. And as you know, the program deals with, management, critical management, the West Coast salmon stock, which indirectly and directly affects Alaska. How do you see those dollars, and do you believe there are need for additional dollars for that program to be successful?
Senator, let me first say that I have seen firsthand how important that program is. And both Secretary Locke and I believe the program is valuable and are committed to the important goals that it has. It's clear to me that that program is providing, is making good progress, is doing what it is intended to do. And yet there is still much work to be done in terms of recovering Pacific Coast salmon. I believe that the $50 million that was in the budget amendment is a good start. I believe that the $11 million that is in the Endangered Species Recovery Fund for the rest of the endangered species all around the nation is an appropriate fund to have, but it's clear that $11 million won't begin to address all of the endangered species recovery needs that exist.
Well, that you led me right into my second question, which is the recent General Counsel's opinion for Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund can only be used on endangered stocks. Alaska has no endangered stocks, but the management and utilization of the dollars is important. Rather than waiting until they're endangered to actually do work ahead of time, I think the words you used was improved management, overfishing, and other elements. But how will you now use that? Will you follow that very restrictive policy, or are you going to recommend to us, or are you going to do internal changes to allow flexibility as has been done in the past? Because that very restrictive really shrinks it down. And I think there's going to be a loss of capacity down the road. So do you have any comment on that?
When we were constructing the guidelines for the National Endangered Species Recovery Fund, we carefully chose the words at risk, species that are at risk.
I did note that you used the word at risk.
And that is intended to allow for exactly the kind of circumstances that you described, Senator.
Okay.
Where it is appropriate to begin activities before species are in the emergency room, if you will.
Very good. Thank you for that clarification. This again is strictly an Alaskan issue, but the Ketchikan dock, where NOAA docks the Fairweather, has been condemned, and the Alaska-based vessel, no offense to my colleague in Washington, is now in Seattle-based. What are the plans for capital improvement to fix that dock so the Fairweather can come back and do its Alaska work from an Alaska base?
Senator, I don't have an answer to that, but I would be happy to look into it and get back to you on that.
That'd be great, if you wouldn't mind doing that. I'm trying to get about 30 seconds left, so I'm going to ask you about a specific, it's basically an erosion of funding or NOAA facility funding in Alaska for the lab at Kasitsna Bay. It's the only West Coast lab in NOAA's National Center for Coastal and Ocean Research Programming. which partners with the University of Alaska. NOAA has just spent about $12.5 million to upgrade the facility, but even with that upgrade, they don't have the operational staff necessary. They have one staff person there, and at one point this year, we were told by the university that because of a lack of $50,000, that the facility was about to be inactive. It's a pretty important facility, as you probably know, and do you think the budget you have prepared and proposed adequately funds and maintains that facility? And again, if you don't know the specifics of this, again, because I'm very specific on this, you can surely come back in writing on that.
Thank you for that option, and I will take it.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Chair, I apologize that I do have to leave for 11:30, but I've had 2 additional opportunities over the last 2. I think we keep running into each other the last 2 days, and I appreciate your comments in your statement about climate change and that future resources are really going to be needed as we move down this path in research and others, as well as Arctic policy. And I know that's a huge effort and a huge interest to the chair of this subcommittee, too. So thank you very much for those
Thank you,
comments.
Senator. And I really appreciated the remarks that you gave in Annapolis 2 days ago at the Arctic Symposium. I look forward to working with you on Arctic issues.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.